People's Democratic Party in Osun State has alerted Nigerians that Inspector General of Police deployment of special forces over the state local government crisis was aimed at assassinating Governor Ademola Adeleke. Addressing newsmen at the party secretariat in Osogbo on Wednesday, the party chairman Sunday Bisi added that the destabilization of the state was deliberately orchestrated to stop Saturday's local government council elections. He charged the global community to prevail on the IGP to desist from enabling orchestrated attempts on the life of Governor Adeleke. He said, "We want to emphasize that these plans have been on the cards of the APC in Osun State since the good people of Osun State voted them out of office in 2022. In his words, Mr. Egbetokun's deliberate deployment of special forces under him to escort some miscreants into the local government councils in the state was nothing but a blatant coup. One out of the many mapped out plans is to assassinate the governor of our dear state, Senator Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke, whose instruction to restore peace and order as the chief security officer of Osun State was flagrantly violated by Mr. Egbetokun. The whole world must warn and prevail on Mr. Kayode Egbetokun to desist from being an enabler of orchestrated attempts on the life of our governor. These plans, we want to emphasize, have been on the cards of the APC in Osun State since the good people of Osun State voted them out of office in 2022. What do you make of the crisis going on in Osun State?
First, I believe there's crisis in Osun State, given the fact that in my place, there's this local parable that says that you can convince a blind man that the soup is eating, that there's no oil, because we have animal fat and plant fat. But you can't convince a blind man that what he's eating doesn't have salt or pepper, because you don't need eyes to, all you need is your taste bud. So what's happening in Osun State? It has a political undertone. There's crisis at the moment. But these local government chairmen who went to court and the court reinstated them, I think what the governor ought to have done in the light of the foregoing is to appeal the judgment instead of going back to conduct a local government election when there is a subsisting court judgment or court order. All you need to do first is to vacate the judgment. But what the governor is doing, like I said, is seeking self-help. And for me, we don't need this kind of overheating of our political system wherever that system is, not just in River State, but in Nigeria, given the fact that there's a judgment who brought this local government chairman back to power. Challenge the judgment, because you can't put something on top of nothing. So what the governor is trying to do now is to place something on top of nothing. And I believe that his political advisors, his legal team should advise him very well on what to do, rather than going to conduct a local government election in a state where court has brought back the outside council chairman. Challenge that judgment.
Now, to a large extent, this still boils down to the question I had asked you earlier about the actors in political crisis being unable to respect court judgments, rulings and orders, right? Now, if there was a judgment restating this council chairman, why conduct local government election?
These are parts of the executive rascality that we have been talking about, where because of this immunity clause for governors, some of them tend to disobey court orders, and it's not good for our nascent democracy.
Now, to a large extent, this matter has escalated. Now, while PDP is alleging plot against the governor, persons have died, actually. One of the reinstated council chairmen have died in this crisis. There has been clash between the PDP and the APC. There have been clashes, and in one of those clashes, one of the reinstated council chairmen died, as well as some other supporters, from who went to support either camps, right? And now the party is alleging that, and it's a serious allegation, saying that the IGP is actually the one plotting to assassinate the governor.
For me, I don't believe
You
that.
feel it's a political
It's
statement.
a political statement. They are unfounded.
But then that still brings...
spurious.
All right. That brings us to...
And should be condemned by every person of goodwill at all levels. To assassinate a governor, is it easy? To assassinate a governor is not easy. So some of these states, does a governor move about without security? The answer is no.
Now that brings us to another point, because you know there have been calls for implementation of court judgments, right? Everybody will be like, oh, court has given the judgment, but the persons who ought to implement the judgment are not implementing the judgment. And now, if the court has reinstated this council chairman, it behoves on the police to ensure that smooth transition back into their office, into their various offices, and make sure that they are protected, the secretariats are protected, and governance happens at the local level. Now, if the IGP in this instance, as he's being accused, because the IGP, according to the story, released, you know, his men, the police force, to guide these people, and this is to ensure, you know, that breakdown of law and order is being avoided. Is it not the police that will enforce the judgment of the court?
Of course, it's the police, and I believe that the IG is acting professionally. That's why he's being called names. That's why he's being dragged into this whole issue. If he remains neutral, oh, he's a very good man. He's nice, but because he has decided
is he remaining neutral?
No. What I mean is
when you say neutral, that means that he is
neither
partial. Now that he has decided to implement the judgment of the court,
because he
you
has
could say if he remains aloof,
yes,
right, not caring about what goes on in Osun State.
Yes, that means he's acting very well. But because he has decided to act professionally, enforcing the judgment of court, today they are calling him names. And it's better for you to be called names doing the right thing than for you to answer a good man doing wrong. Posterity will always judge. So for me, Adeleke, what he ought to do at this point is either to challenge that judgment to see how status quo can be maintained. That's rather than taking laws into his hand, to conduct a local government election into a council where court has brought them back. These are part of the executive rascality. And when people don't obey court judgment, you set the pace for anarchy.
Right. Very well.